So I have a question.
Sure.
No. Like I don't have one. The only thing I have that is Morris related is the Circle 7 Koran. But other than that, I don't have a question there.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right, cool. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, first we want to announce that all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and Love, Truth, Peace, Freedom, and Justice. If you're able to, please rise and face the east. Right, everybody, if you're able to, rise and face the east.
Join the meeting.
Put your feet put your heels together.
At a 45-degree
so
angle.
Your feet should be at a 45-degree angle, like your heels should be together. Your feet are shaped like a V.
So you're standing on your square.
Okay, hold up your arms perpendicular. 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left.
2 on the right, 5 on the left, and repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Drew Ali.
Amen. Islam, okay. Want to announce that the meeting is now open. First and foremost, we rise, we give the highest praise to the Most High, the Father of the universe, Allah. We also give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for returning us to our divine creed and nationality. We give honors also to our brother, the forerunner to the prophet, and that's Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, modern day John the Baptist. We also give honors to all the sheiks, all the adepts, all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. We give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by the Prophet, Brother E. Millie Ill. Also honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, and that's Brother K. Dandridgel. Honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all you ills and bays on the call. Islam, Islamism. Brother Jack Bay, will you please read the Divine Constitution and bylaws?
Can y'all hear me?
Islam, we can hear you.
Islam, I rise giving perfect praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, and honors to the Prophet, Noble Ali, also all the Muslims. Salvation, Allah, unity, Moorish of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The people of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on is for Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not the constitution of said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they can know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nation. The ordained, noble to Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble to Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Noble to Ali, founder. Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, through Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble to Ali, home office of USA. Islam, Sunday morning.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right. Peace and love. Appreciate you for reading that. All right. Today we're in chapter 8 in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Before we get started with that, I want to read from the Quran questionnaire. Brother, let's see, Brother David Sell, did you have your booklet?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So yeah, if you don't have a Quran questionnaire, if you could look at the screen and just read the answers out loud.
Peace, everybody. Honors to the Prophet. Like I said, did that little backwards there. Most praise to Allah. Honors to the Prophet. Honors to all in attendance. Honors to all that wanted to be in attendance. Number 90. Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No.
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 No. All right, 91. Why?
Because man
is made
in the image,
likeness of
God.
God Allah.
92. What title does Satan give himself?
God.
93. Will you define the word white?
White
means
Purity.
purity.
God.
God
means
ruler of the land.
94. At times as the great God.
Allah.
Allah.
95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah?
No.
No. He is the shadow of the lower selves and will pass away. 96. Who made the devil? Elohim. 97. Who is Elohim?
Elohim.
Is
Is the second creative
creative
spirit
Spirit.
created
Everything that
ever was and is and evermore to be.
ever was, is, and ever more to be.
98. What is Elohim sometimes called?
The
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 seven
seven eyes of Allah.
99. How many days are in the circle?
7
days. 100. How many days are in creation?
7 days.
7 days. 101. According to science, how many days are in a year?
7.
Days.
All right. All right. Peace, Brother David. Thanks for reading that. Let's just go back over that. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to speak up. Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? We know the answer is no. We know that Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, these were all labels that pretty much removed man from the family of humans, placed them in almost a permanent slave status. Man is not a river containing black water, right? We have the Negro River, the Rio Negro, right here in Brazil, in South America. It's a tributary of the Amazon River. You guys have seen that, right? When we showed that on the screen, the waters are black. They're actually black waters, and they still don't mix with the Amazon River, right? So we're not a river with black water, so we can't be the we can't be black. Yeah, I'll just show that in case you haven't seen that before, the Rio Negro. Okay. So it still, is a river that contains black waters. This is where the waters meet with the regular Amazon, and they don't mix. Okay. So that doesn't describe us, right? So we shouldn't even go along with that. Getting back to that though, obviously black doesn't fit us. Then of course also, so Negro doesn't fit. Also black is something that's dead, right? We're not dead. Then we're not painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. That's colored. And then we know that Ethiopia is something that was divided, or it means that a thing that's divided. So we can't be any of those things. And then why? Because man's made in the image and likeness of God, Allah. To be in the image and after the likeness of God is to have the faculty of God-like knowledge and will. All right? To be self-conscious, to know that you're the nature of God. You can't do that if you're proclaiming to be something that someone created specifically to abuse you. All right? So if you're made in the image of God, you know that God is love, and to serve and understand the meaning of his love is to serve God. We can't do that if we're still, claiming to these labels. The title is saving Satan gives himself, right? 92 is God. Now, right in the next one, obviously you see we're speaking on white, and white means the ruler of the land, right? So by giving yourself from a physical perspective, physical people giving themselves that title, knowing full and well what it means, it's letting you know what they're doing. And also you can see how some people would take that and run with it and try to, say that some people are devils, some people aren't. But you can see that just in that key right there. And that's one way of looking at it, okay, from a physical perspective. Islam, peace to everybody just joined. We're just going over the Quran questionnaire. Also, Satan also clothes himself in the garb of truth to deceive, right? And so by clothing himself in that title, taking along the characteristics that come with that, they're using that to rule over mankind. All right? So it's not saying that we should go around calling ourselves white. We don't want to go along with any colors and terms because they don't even really describe the shade of anyone's skin. It's a social status, right? we can see though how that's been used and warped, not just in this country, but also in like South Africa, and India. It's been used to punish and to move the original people, you know, to a subservient status. And it's like, it's a worldwide practice now. All right. Moving on to the next one. 94. To whom do we refer to at times as being the great God Allah, the creator of the universe? The ancient Egyptians called him Thoth, right? The Persians had several names for him. The Brahmins called him Patabrahm. Hebrews called him Jehovah. He's the rootless root, the causeless cause. So he has several names. We know him as Allah. Islam. To those that just joined, we're on the Quran questionnaire. Sorry. So just moving on to 95. We're talking about the creator of the universe. All right. The omnipotence, the indescribable. Moving on to 95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No, it's the shadow of our lower selves and will pass away. So another way of understanding that, to know that even the devil is not a permanent thing, because even the lower self, you know, the lower self is just limited to the body. It's the consciousness. They actually is a tool or a servant to work for us, to help us maneuver within the body. We're not bodies or humans that have souls. We're spirits that have a soul, that have a body, that possess a body, you know, that possess a soul. So we're actually not the body. And so the body is a portion that we use to function in this world. And it's only the devil because it's ruling when it's supposed to be a servant. All right. And so it too will pass away. It's limited to this life. And even that status of being seen as the devil will pass away too when you're seated back on the throne, when you dwell in your higher self and rule from the higher self. And if anybody has questions or anything, feel free to speak up. And then who made the devil? Elohim. Let's see. All right. So this is just going back to that the lower self, the devil, doesn't have an independent existence. It didn't just come into being on its own. Right? So it's contingent on the creation of the physical body. So without the physical body, there is no devil. It's earthbound. It doesn't exist in the soul plane or the spirit plane. Right? Man does have foes on the plane of the soul, but they aren't dependent on flesh, right? So there's always a battle or a something to overcome, because without a foe, how does a man know his strength? How does Allah know his strength? How does Allah show his strength? All right. In chapter 1 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, our prophet teaches us that the carnal nature, the devil, sprang forth from the flesh of man. So knowing this, the reader can then ask, you know, you could say like, who's the one that created the flesh? And then in chapter 1, going back to the same first chapter, creative faith. And that's the will of Allah. It predetermines all the events. It gave to spirit a soul, and then a body of flesh. All right. In short, looking at that, the Elohim created the flesh of man and all of the things material. And the physical body is made up of billions of pieces of protoplasm. Right? All of these things that come together to form the body, and the body has a consciousness as well. All right. So all of these things were developed, you know, for the material world specifically. Then going to 97, what is the Elohim? Elohim is the 7 creative spirits, created everything that ever was, ever more to be. Elohim literally means God, like plural. These are the 7 divine emanations, that were breathed forth by Allah. They're the 7 dynamic thoughts of Allah. And remember, we're all thoughts of Allah. All right. And the thoughts of Allah are so supreme that they're literally alive and actually exist as living spirits. And then there's like several different spiritual systems, like ancient spiritual systems. They all have their own names for them. And in voodoo, you have like the 7 Orishas. You have like a whole pantheon of gods, and you have like the 7. You always have like this circle 7. Okay, it's in everything. And then the oldest teachings that are recorded, at least, of the 7 creative spirits is in the Egyptian mysteries. And they called them the builders. They called them the governors. And they created the lower worlds. Okay? And so that's what we're dealing with now. That's, you know, that's how the information has been passed down. What is the Elohim sometimes called? The 7 eyes of Allah. Eyes, that's a symbol for being watchful, for being omnipotent. All right. In chapter 11 of the Moorish Holy Koran, we learned that the triune Allah breathed forth and stood 7 spirits before his face. And that means that Allah basically differentiated himself 7 times. All right. And so all of these aspects of Allah are watching, ever present, and they're different planes. They're different planes of existence. And then, of course, in the Quran, we have the planes of the protoplast, the earth, plant, beast, man, the angel, and the cherubim. All right. And so it's also like sometimes people try to explain this stuff. Like there's one guy who does artwork, and he like tries to show the eye of Allah everywhere. And so he'll have like the eye in everything. Like it'll be like a person, the outline of a person, but there's like, they're just made up out of eyes. And then shows how it's connected to everything. And so that's kind of like one way of looking at it, if that makes sense. Moving on. How many days are in a circle? 7. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to add about that? 7 days it's in a circle.
I had read. My question was, if Satan is referred to as God, like when I say I give rise to great God Allah, should I just not say God? I give rise to Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just looking at that on 93. I believe it was 3.
Okay, so 92. What
Yeah,
title
92.
does Satan give to himself? God.
Oh, okay.
So it's saying like, you know, the lower self. Okay. And then it's saying, you know, I'm looking at it like, you know, in one aspect of looking at it from a physical perspective. Okay. People who actually give themselves this title, it means purity, means ruler of the land, you know, as a collective, being deceptive, you know, dwelling in that lower self, trying to rule off of, you know, scarcity, off of the things that are being pushed on us, right?
Islam.
Like that as a collective.
Okay.
I'm not saying everyone, not trying to put everyone into that category or anything, but that's one way of looking at it. Of course, there's more ways of looking at this too, but that's just one way of looking at it, because you see like this deceptive thing that's going on, not even just here in America, but also like I was saying, South Africa, right? Even when they're the minority of the population, they're able to rule over the masses by pushing this same type of you know, caste system based off of skin color, and using these titles, referring to themselves as white, right? And giving the original people a name that denotes to, you know, something that's less than.
Islam. Okay, I understand now.
Peace.
Islam. So that's just
Islam.
Way, you know, the deception has been, you know, put on people physically. Islam. Okay, I thought somebody else had something to say. So
oh yeah, I had actually something to add on that too. Okay. For everybody who might not be familiar with this, there's actually something that you could probably still find online. If not, if anybody wanted to get their hands on it, I could definitely email you like a PDF file. But this is just another. It was like some earlier writings that actually started circulating around Spain, I believe, in like the 13th century. That actually, like, you know what I'm saying, that it's called the Sefer Yitzhak. Actually talks about the well, basically the whole concept of this. These were pretty much kind of like Kabbalistic writings before like the Kabbalah. You familiar with the idea of Kabbalah was actually like put down on paper? Like these were like one of the like the earlier recordings. You feel me of like this type of like school of thought. So just to like read you guys just like a little bit of it. It's talking about like the 7 creative spirits as well, and the 7 days and stuff like that. But part of it says that basically what they did was they used the Hebrew alphabet, the 22 letters, and they gave them different names and different attributes to describe the human creation. What it basically says, so now, behold, the stars of the universe, the planets are 7, the sun of Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. The 7 are also the 7 days of creation and the 7 gateways of the soul of man. The 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the mouth, and the 2 nostrils. So with 7, they are formed the 7 heavens, the 7 earths, the 7 periods of time, and has and so has he preferred the number 7 above all things under heaven. You know what I'm saying? And it actually really goes into a lot more detail as far as like, you know what I'm saying, like with dealing with that. But also what Brother Douglas, it was talking about as far as, when it was asking, what I'm saying, what does Satan call himself? And he, what I'm saying, calls himself God. So at the end of the day, we're all still dealing with, what I'm saying, like yourself as an individual, whether male or female, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it talks about in chapter 1, you feel me, in the creation and fall of man, how we pretty much, so I'm paraphrasing or whatever, how we pretty much fell, to start satisfying, the flesh, you see what I'm saying? And our whole journey is to get back to that highest point or plane of life. So at the end of the day, that's why we're, always taught, even within the literature, not to worship, rise above that. Like, that's all, So at the end of the day, the God, you see what I'm saying, or how I was taught anyway, one of the other points was that the people who are still vibrating, you see what I'm saying, on their, with them lower selves or whatever, that would be, seen as like the material things, everything that, deals with satisfying the flesh and the physical or whatever is just, that will be the God of the lower self. You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, Satan is one of the names that we give to our lower selves anyway, too. So that was like another way of
Islam, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for sharing that. And just like in alignment with what he was saying, like just with what it's saying here, questions 98 through 101. Just keep seeing that number 7 in there. There's more to it than that. It's saying 7 days. He's not really talking about days. Could be 7 periods. You know that there's 7 builders or architects of the universe, right? We would call them Elohim from our perspective. You have 7 universal laws, right? The 7 principles of self-mastery, all is mind, that's mentalism. As above, so below, the correspondence, the principle of vibration, polarity, rhythm, principle of cause effect, and the principle of gender. And these are universal, meaning it doesn't matter where you're at, these are universal principles. And so like knowing this, and that this is something that goes throughout the whole universe, it's important. That's why it's being hit on there. So I can't really say I know like all the answers or the complete reason why that's in there. But, this is just being hit upon because it's important for all of us to, to gain this insight. And so one thing I wanted to do real quick, though, before we go into chapter 8 was if I could get a volunteer to read from Moorish literature on page 25 on Caveat Emptor. Somebody has a Moorish literature book.
Islam.
Sharbe here from Moorish Science Temple Mission 30 in Columbus, from Dayton, Ohio, Islam. I'll read from what you said, page 25.
Yeah, caveat emptor. Islam.
Islam. One second. Excuse me. Independent and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny, which is not uncertain or unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realm. They try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads like the sword. Old Demos, what was this word? Damocles? Damocles had sort of scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers and abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interests can only be in one direction, and here's before the prophet knows where every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemers work, where traitors grin and culprits bask in the sun. They think they are on the same road with true Moors, but the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers flying high, catch scent, devour, and leave crying out. Caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors purveyors, the worst that exist, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawks wait.
Islam, brother. And we could see, some of these things playing out right now, right before our very eyes, even though the prophet wrote that almost 100 years ago. Islam. Okay, so I do want to go to chapter 8 today. And feel free, unless it's loud, feel free to keep your mic on. And if you have any questions or anything you want to say, feel free to speak up. Before we get started though, just when we are going through chapters 2 through 19, basically the front of the Quran, this is speaking on the life and the works of Jesus, the prophet Jesus. And it's set up, it's established that way because it's necessary to the awakening of our people to reveal these lessons, because Jesus is pretty much showing through his life work, or showing the blueprint or the template for how to reveal Allah and man, right? And so it's extremely important. I'm going to quote from this book though, Quran Questionnaire, which pretty much just speaking on the reasons for why this is in the beginning. In Matthew chapters, verses 31 to 33, it says, seeking power without force, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. All right. So just, obviously that's telling you to gain the spiritual insight first before worrying about everything else earthly. All right. And then in this book, Quran, it's a Quran questionnaire or Quranic study guide. The author was just highlighting that verse basically to give you the proper conception of establishing our earthly salvation. It first starts with spiritual evolution or elevation. Why? Wealth and power without a moral compass always leads to corruption and destruction via the manifestation of the following attributes: hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. Okay, so it's important for us to have the right mindset and to gain spiritual insight, or to at least be pushing for it, spiritual evolution, right? So that we're not ruling from the same, or in the same manner that you could say that the people who are ruling right now are ruling in. And then before we go into chapter 8, Jesus reveals to the people their sinful ways. Just looking at that from a psychological perspective or metaphysical perspective, 8 means circumcision, or it can be synonymous with it. The circumcision on the 8th day is a mental and spiritual act. The moment you realize you are the tabernacle of the living God, and when you divest yourself of your name, nationality, and social status, and all things pertaining to your personality, you realize you are unveiling the God presence, which is the 8th day, or the 8th hour, or the 8th sun. All right. And so it's basically claiming the true God that's within you, and throwing off your earthly, I guess you could say, your earthly clothes, or the fleshly, bodily portion of you. Okay, so kind of gives you insight maybe as to why this chapter was written, or why this was prepared in this manner in chapter 8. All right, so verse 1: in all the cities of Orisha, Jesus taught. At Katak by the riverside, he taught, and thousands of the people followed him. One day, a car of Jagannath was hauled along by scores of frenzied men, and Jesus said, "Behold, a form without a spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there." Right? So even just in that, he's speaking about an altar is being like in a parade or something for Krishna, and he's saying that it's empty, for Krishna is not there. So he's not saying that Krishna is not real, like Lord Krishna, because Krishna was a Christ figure as well. He's just saying, making an altar to it, carrying it around and holding it up, doing these things like that, it is pointless. This car is but an idol of a people drunk on wine of carnal things. Allah lives not in the noise of tongues. There is no way to him from any idol shrine. Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears it is still. And all the people said, "Teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart, the Allah of the still small voice." And so we always speak on this, the heart from the Eastern perspective. Of course, we're not speaking about the heart, the physical heart that's pumping your blood, that's in your body. It's like the ancient Egyptians, they viewed the heart as the seat of emotion, thought, will, and intention. And they had 2 different words. They had one word for the physical heart, it was Hati, and then the other one was IB or JB. And the one that, I guess you could say was spiritual or metaphysical would be the JB one. And that was where the anatomical heart is the Hati one. And then the metaphysical one is where thought and intelligence, memory and wisdom, bravery, sadness and love, where all of these things dwell, or where they emanate from. And then on another aspect too, the ancients didn't necessarily hold the brain, the physical brain, in high esteem, right? The brain was just dragged out through the nose when mummies were being performed. It was just scrambled up and dragged out. Right? It's not because they didn't know all of these different body functions are coming from the brain. It's just that the lower self wasn't thought too highly of, right? But the heart was, held up to higher esteem. And then also in the ancient, I guess you could say Hindu perspective, the Atman was the spiritual heart, and that's where basically where you meet Allah, where you meet God, the spiritual heart, Atman. And it's like not really in the body. It has no physical or mental dimensions. And the yogi said that this is where God dwelt, the creator of the universe, as far as incarnating in the body. Also, they said the Anata chakra, the heart chakra, that's not the heart. That was just a level or dimension of our being, right? So the spiritual heart that we talk of, is similar to the ancient Egyptian view, where they felt like this is where God dwelled within you. Okay, and in our Quran questionnaire, question 4 is, where's the nearest place we can meet him? Speaking on Allah, in the heart. Okay, so the heart is in the mind. Where's the mind? Okay, the mind isn't even located in the body. And you have scientists saying that too now. Scientists, you actually have scientists that are saying that your mind isn't confirmed to your brain or even your body. I have this quote from this psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry at UCLA School of Medicine. He's saying that the mind cannot be confined to the skull. It's not even inside our own bodies. Okay? And this is from a professor of psychology. The mind is the seat of consciousness, the essence of our being. Okay? So the mind is not in the body. The heart, the mind, these concepts, these are like transcending the physical nature of the world that we're in. And when you think about it, we're all thoughts of Allah. So we never left Allah's mind. In the Holy Quran, in chapter 11, verse 27, because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of Allah. All creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. And then also in chapter 1, creation and fall of man, it says, man is a thought of Allah. All thoughts of Allah are infinite. They're not measured up by time for things that are concerned with time beginning and end. The thoughts of Allah are everlasting, of the past and to the never-ending days to come. All right? So we're all thoughts of Allah. We actually never left Allah's mind, right? Where do thoughts emanate? They, from a scientific perspective, they can't even explain it. It's incomprehensible. All right, so and they're trying to gain insight into this, speaking with Jesus. So going back in here to verse 9, Jesus said, the holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirits of the Holy One. And we spoke on that last chapter too, with the holy breath, and trying to just give some kind of description to it. The holy breath is of God, emerges from the oneness and enters into the being of all things to bring them back to the unity of the one. Can kind of compare it to prana. That's another thing that the ancient Hindus taught. Prana is the energy, the life, the breath. It's like the life force. And then in the Chinese would have called it qi, or the qi, right? And it's a universal sea of energy, that everything, the building blocks of everything in the physical world come from it. So it's inside, it's in everything. And so just trying to gain insight on this, Jesus said, the holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirits of the Holy One. But in their image, man was made. And he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of the Allah who speaks within. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah. And you must bear in mind that when man harms in thought or word or deed another man, he does a wrong to Allah. So even thinking, in this manner, because thoughts are real, and they have they actually manifest in the physical world at some level. If you would serve the Allah who speaks within the heart, just serve your near of kin and those that are no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks to do you harm. Assist the poor and help the weak. Do harm to none and covet not what is not yours. Then with your tongue, the Holy One will speak. With your tongue, the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears and will light your countenance with joy and fill your hearts with peace. And then the people asked, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? And Jesus said, Our Father Allah, ask not for needless waste of plant, of grain, of dove, of lamb. That which you burn on any shrine you throw away. No blessings can attend the one who takes the food from hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. When you would offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gift of grain or meat and lay it on the table of the poor. From it an incense will rise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. Tear down your idols, they can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for the flames. Make human hearts your altars and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have worshiped Jesus as God, but Jesus said, I am your brother, man. Just come to show you the way to Allah. You shall not worship man. Praise Allah, the Holy One. Islamism. Does anyone have any questions or anything they wanted to add to this measure?
Islam, arise, give praise to Allah, honors to his prophet, noble Drew Ali, honors to all you more than attendants. I just want to ask, that brought me back to one of the pillars of Islam, which is charity. You know, a lot of the old ways, the superstitious ways was, you know, idol worshiping and countries. We've seen, and even in my family, because my family is from the Caribbean islands, that, you know, they had certain practices where they didn't necessarily see it as idol worshiping, but, you know, they always seen altars and, you know, fruit on the altars and food plates and stuff like that, and then it goes bad and then they throw it away, you know, but they're feeding the energies of those things to the energies of the ancestors. I have a higher understanding of that now, but Allah and the ancestors is within. So instead of giving the food and the energy of the food on, you know, to the ancestors on the altar, I could go out and give it to a brother or sister or child who is hungry. Islam, and that kind of takes us back to the upliftment of humanity, which is our jobs as Moorish Americans to take the ways of our ancestors, the falsehood, and bring it back into truth.
Islam, Chikas.
Islam. All right. Thanks for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. And, you know, it just makes more sense also to recognize Allah is within all of us. So obviously helping each other, you know, assisting each other is going to carry even more weight, you know, than putting something on the altar, you know, doing things for some residue or some energy that, you know, people might think that they're worshiping or something like that. Like in the example he gave with Krishna, you know, where they have a statue of Krishna. Okay, that's not empowering you in any kind of way if Allah is within you.
Islam. I wanted to say something real quick. Just like you know how everybody has their own talents, everybody got their own little business and whatnot. Shout outs to Davis Rossell. And I just want to say like just like what Brother Douglas L just said, like if we really put in some type of energy that's like overpowering of like what we think we're doing is cool. Like right now, of course, like, you know, we give our, and I want to stand to give all praises to Allah and the foremothers and forefathers, because they were really, you know, we really were like active, just like what I read too. It kind of hit me. Like if we're more active instead of passive, you know what I mean? Like for an example, passive being like just being on Facebook or, you know, being on social media, like that's fine. You know, we show our passions, but that's not enough. To be active is really like kind of like, you know, helping each other out with our business or helping each other out with, you know, moves we have to really make, because those steps are important based off of, the situation that we're in. We're already in. We're dependent on this environment or this government, so-called government, and we're putting more energy into them instead of what we, need to be putting our energy in, as far as a body politic, and that's really what kind of hit me, Islam.
Islam. I'm glad you said that. That's also. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Islam, I just wanted to add this real quick on how this affected me or whatever. Like, it's Ramadan, right? And the part where it says verse 12, and you must bear in mind that when a man humbles his sword or workers or deeds another man, he does wrong to Allah. And sometimes it's Ramadan, so we're supposed to have good behavior, you feel me, and not be but sometimes just being human, right, or being being in the world, it's like, man, your thoughts can go. When we remember that, even if if I cut somebody out in my head, for example, I still hurt a lot, even though it's being manifest to the physical, right? So this is just understanding that and how to honor, to always understand that even this rock, this dog, this person, no matter if he's Asiatic or European, right? Some form of divinity, some form of Allah is in this. You feel me? And for us to disrespect anything outside of our is, disrespecting Allah. You feel what I'm saying? And that's all I wanted to, it could be hard, you know what I mean, to, people or whatever, but just remember in this part that it can't be hard, because if I honor this person, man, woman, etc., in my thoughts, my deeds will follow my time. You feel what I'm saying? So in a lot in our minds, you feel me? And then when it goes into the Sufi, like the Sufi style, like Sufism, that's all they be caring about is the the best way to remember Allah is to remember everything around us is a part of Allah, including our own spirit that's inside of our soul.
Islam, brother. Peace. I felt that.
Yeah, peace. Appreciate you. To the brother or sister that just joined, it says Carrie Bay. Please, in the chat, just type your location and also your contact info, your phone number or email. All right. And all right, Islam. So I did wanted to say to the brother Shaw Bay, you read Caveat Emptor earlier, and it's right on time. It's like 100 years old. That article, I think, originally appeared in the Moorish Guide newspaper, but it's right on time with what we see going on right now with the Moorish Science Temple of America. When we meet on Holy Day, Friday, which most of you have been attending, that the Holy Day, the 6th day, has spiritual significance for us. And then on Sunday school, and we're concentrating on the lessons from the Koran. But what we're doing is building up our spirituality, our understanding, and our ability to trust each other. All right, because we've been, boxed in, not just into a category that, with the label Black, African American, but of the mentality that comes along with it. The ravaging of our neighborhoods and things that made it where being Black don't really mean nothing. Being African American, we don't. It's not like we just have this thing where we good. We could you could just trust your children, just out in the neighborhood. You have to keep an eye on them because there's no telling what Black folks are gonna do. It's not like we can even just say like, oh, we don't molest children, we don't abuse kids, we don't do. Nah, there's no telling what Black folks would do. So being Moorish American means something. So taking these lessons in and building up ourselves, builds us up to a level where we can work together and actually create a community. And then in addition to that, we're doing things on the side, building up our businesses, you know, so that we can take care of our earthly need, right? Because we have to, you know, have our own society for real. So, you know, that's just a portion, but that's the unseen portion, because people who's on the outside, they don't know that, you know, and then that's not sexy. That's not cool to, you know, talk, you know, to actually be doing things within your community, you know, to strengthen you up. There's no glory in that, you know, actually participating in you know, in government, in politics, putting money aside so that you can, you know, get land and do the things you need. That's not sexy. But then you have the people who are like just appealing to people's lower nature. Like, look, we can get you this house for free, or we can get you out of jail, or we can do these things. That's the caveat emptor. We're seeing that. They're trying to use like what you see in there. I don't have the exact wording, but what you see in there, we're trying to use these things for bad. Like literally trying to, there was some Moors, I don't want to defame anyone, but there was some Moors in the Detroit area a couple years back who were literally facing like drug charges, and they were not being Moors because they wanted to uplift the community and build up their people so that they could rule themselves. They were just trying to use it so that they could still sell drugs and just be able to do it and say that nobody could arrest them, like they were immune. And so like doing things like that, that's what you're seeing with the, you know, caveat emptor with the people, and these are usually the people that are the loudest with it. We're trying to, you know, do this for negative means. And they're not gonna make us look bad. They're only in the end gonna make themselves look bad. All right. And if you read that, we're saying that they think they're on the same road with the true Moors, but the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the midday sun. So, you know, they're not, nobody's fooling anyone. You know, if you're not really trying to build up your community and do this so that your children and your grandchildren, and, you know, you're not handing down a legacy of slavery, if that's not the real reason why you're in it, it'll be shown. It'll you know, it will show in your life, because it's not going to work for you. This thing will tear you apart before you'll be able to tear the movement down. So I just wanted to share that, you know, because it's really important that, you know, you're in this for the right reasons, you know. And I mean, that message is, you know, 100 years old and it's still relevant. But I'm just going to open the floor up. If anyone has any questions, I know we have a couple new people on here. Feel free to ask. We'll, you know, get to all questions, and that's all that I had to speak on. So the floor is open. Right. Okay. Well, if nobody has any questions, that's good too. The brother in Dallas, I'll link you up with the people in Dallas. I guess the other brother in Louisiana. We'll send both of you an email later on, just with information and everything you need to get linked up with the temple. If you have any questions as to why this is important, or, you know, why we're doing this, feel free to ask. Other than that, though, we're gonna go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. All right. Yeah, go ahead. If you have any, go ahead. Feel free to speak.
Yeah, okay. So I have a question. So what I signed simple and everything. So the thing was that I received criticism from other Muslims, you know what I mean, that was practicing Al-Islam. So they were telling me, oh man, that's not the right Islam because they're not following Muhammad and they don't respect that Muhammad is the last prophet. So, and it talks about in the Quran that Muhammad is the last prophet and etc. So how could Noble Drew Ali be a prophet?
All right, Islam. I'm glad you asked that question. Yeah. So, you know, I just say two things, you know, like before I go into about the prophet Noble Drew Ali. First off, you know, I question anyone, not you, but anyone who's coming at us, and when I say us, I mean the so-called black people, all right, and trying to say that Allah only brought a message, you know, over 1,000 years ago, and only brought the prophet to the people there, you know, in Persia or in the desert. And that everyone else is just like forsaken. And that message was good enough, because we have a serious problem here that's been going on for over 2 centuries, you know, possibly longer. And our people are still suffering from it. They're still getting gunned down and killed, and there's nothing being done about it. We still don't have the justice. President Bush still referring to our people on TV as refugees. Okay? Nobody did anything about that. And no foreigner, and see, like, people who are practicing like al-Islam or Sunni, you know, whatever they want to, you know, they're calling it Orthodox Islam. Okay, basically, they're coming with a foreign perspective, or they actually are foreigners coming from like Africa, North, you know, coming from Arabia. They can't tell us anything, because none of them came to fix this issue, and they can't. They can't. All right. And so nobody addressed it. And so, like, yeah, how convenient for them to be like, well, you know, the prophets, you know, were sealed off after that, after Prophet Muhammad. And so y'all just out here, you know, that's you know, that's doing nothing for us. And so, like, you know, as far as that, I mean, like, you know, that they can kind of kick rocks with that. But as far as like prophethood in Islam, from the Holy Koran of Mecca, right? You actually have like different tiers of prophets. You have the messengers, the Rasul, and you have the Nabi. Okay. And so, like, just going into that, like in the Quran, in Surah 16, Ayat 36, it says, and we certainly sent into every nation a messenger saying, worship Allah and avoid idols. Okay. All right. Sure. And then that's just one note, but it's in there several times. Hang on. It says, so in Surah 14:4, it says, we sent not a messenger except to teach in the language of his own people in order to make things clear to them. Now Allah leaves straying those whom he pleases and guides whom he pleases. And he is exalted in power, full of wisdom. So that's saying two things. Every nation, all people were sent a prophet, okay, who speaks their language from amongst them to make things clear to them. So they have to understand their culture. And then Allah, you know, he exalts whoever he pleases. So nobody else can, that's also saying nobody else can come and say, well, y'all don't get a prophet, you know, because Prophet Muhammad's the last one, because Allah is the best knower. All right. And then also in Surah 16, Ayat 36, it says, for we assuredly sent amongst every people or every nation a messenger. Serve Allah and eschew evil of the people who were some whom Allah guided and some whom error became inevitably, it says, so travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who denied the truth. But then, like, once again, though, it's saying, for surely we sent amongst every people a messenger. Sometimes it says every nation, right? And Ummah is the word in Arabic for a nation. In the Quran, and also in Surah 10:47, it says, for every Ummah, there's a messenger. When the messenger comes, the matter will be judged between them with justice, and they will not be wrong. Right?
Right.
So this is an Islamic belief that every nation was sent a messenger. We were out here hanging just by ourselves, not even knowing that we were a nation. We're the wretched of the earth. You know, everybody can look down on us and laugh at us like we're nothing. We're disconnected. You know, to this day, people can come over here, come in our community from another country, come from nothing. They can come over here, set up shop, and get rich selling stuff to us, right? Why? Because, you know, we're just out here wretched with no nation. what the prophet would let you know in Moorish literature is that if you basically, if you don't have a nation, a nationality, nobody has to respect you. You know, you're subjected to the abuses that everyone wants to heap upon you. You're just dependent on people to be benevolent towards you. But in actuality, we have a nation. The prophet came, he established this, he relinked us with this. And by relinking us to something old, our Moorish heritage, he also created something new because we're born in America. So we're Moorish Americans. All right. And so he created this, he established this, he relinked us to Islam. He foretold, he let us know about Allah's wrath, which is sure to come. All right. By all Islamic standards, he's a prophet. He came from among us, speaking our language. That means no one else could have did this. That also means that no one of Persian descent or whatever can tell us who is or isn't a prophet. Tecumseh's from where I'm at in Ohio, he was a prophet amongst his people. All right. The indigenous people, he was a dark-skinned brother, right? The indigenous people in Ohio, he was a prophet. He gathered them together. He let them, he got several tribes to come together and fight against the Europeans. By all accounts, from those people, he was a prophet, uniting them under one God together, you know, to uplift their nation, to keep them from the danger which he saw for coming, to warn them about it. And so, you know, in that aspect, he was a prophet. No one else can come to them and tell them that he wasn't a prophet. All right. Just like they can't tell us that what we practice is in Islam. Allah is universal. How are you going to limit Allah to the desert? Right? How are you going to limit Allah to the desert? You know, that somebody might find that offensive, but it's just like saying, like, how could you limit Allah to Arabic, to one language? You know, like a lot of times, you know, I talk to, especially I don't want to like offend anyone, but even like talking to some of our brothers who like convert to Islam and they're thinking that like learning Arabic is getting them closer to Allah. And, you know, I can't really tell them this without offending them, but it's like learning Arabic isn't, I'm not knocking it, but it's not getting you closer to Allah. Allah's not limited to one language. How you going to limit something that's universal, not even limited to this planet, one region and one language, one perspective? This is what the prophet came to you, because the Persians at that time were so far gone. You know, like the prophet Muhammad had to go through hell just to get the message to them. And he still has so many hypocrites and, you know, so much to deal with that he couldn't even really dwell and live amongst them. So he was dealing with that. And so like, you know, they can't say that stuff to me because people are going to get offended because, you're trying to put something on us that, you know, you can't limit Allah. You can't limit something that's universal. You can't limit Islam, which means peace. You know, Islamism, we practice in peace. We're making that a way of life. You can't limit that. Islam, I see somebody else has a hand raised. Does that make sense though?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then within the Quran, it says several times that a prophet is sent to every nation. I get in there that what they're going to say, the surah where it says that Prophet Muhammad is the seal of the prophets, and you could say that because that wording al-Khatam, al-Nabiyan, seal means cut off. It does. Some people say the seal means it's authenticated, but in that manner that it's used, I think it does mean cut off. All right.
Okay.
But it also says several times in the Quran that Allah sends a prophet to every nation. All right. And we definitely needed a prophet here. All right. So this is something that's universal. Nobody can come and tell us anything. I don't see anyone else as more of an expert or, you know, on it. I mean, Allah is the best knower.
Islam.
I see the brother Kerry Bay had his hand up.
Islam. Y'all can hear me well?
Yes.
All right. I rise giving praise to Allah and giving highest honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So, I just wanted to camel back off of what you said and see if I can help the brother out a little bit more on his question about Islam being the true Islam. If you look at it from a Moorish perspective, and that's the thing. Like once we start to study the understanding of it, and we'll be able to answer those questions with the Quran. The brother gave you a beautiful demonstration and gave you some examples of the surah where it went against what the brother told you about us only having that last prophet. Because in our teachings we honor all true and divine prophets. Truth is but one, so it can't be, and you can't limit Allah. There's only two things that exist, and that's truth and falsehood. And the brother said the seal meaning authentic. That's how I interpret it too. And I just feel like, and it's just my measure, I feel like that seal aspect of it, when they talk about the seal, it's just authenticating that this is something, this is real, and not it being the last prophet. And again, I think it's a misinterpretation. Just like when and you might think of it logically and say, well, how can all these Muslims be wrong in what they're saying? And that's the same thing as saying, like, they have a lot of Christians that think that Jesus is the God. You know what I'm saying? And that, the text. And I think it's simply that, a misinterpretation of the text. I hear the floor. That's all.
Islam. Thank you, brother.
Islam.
Okay, the sister has her hand up.
Islam. I just want to add to that, because that's a lot of lower self thinking when an Arab say that our Islam is not Islam and theirs are. Because if they practice true Islam, like what the Prophet brought, we are to love instead of hate. We're to love our brothers and sisters as long as they're doing good, as long as their deeds and their hearts are pure. That is what Islam means. Islam means peace. And as long as we are practicing peace, we are practicing Islam. And nobody could take that away from us, because there is no compulsion in Islam. That's another thing. They automatically, when our brothers and sisters want to know or go towards Islam, they automatically see us as lower than them, coming in under them. So we have to learn their ways, because we're going to them for their Islam. And that's what he did, was powerful, beautiful, and phenomenal, and cannot be molested, because he did it according to Allah's law, the universal laws.
Islam. I want to thank you, sister, for saying that. To add to that, allegedly, I say allegedly because we don't know the source of this, but allegedly the Prophet said, do not allow any foreign Muslims up in your rostrum. And the rostrum would be like the head, like the podium where the speaker would be at. And the reasoning behind that would be for this reason, because we have Islam as revealed to us by our divine prophet, meaning divine, meaning of or from God. And with the seal of the prophets, that portion in the Quran, it's the Khatam al-Nabiyin. And I could see like how that could be interpreted as like the cutoff of the prophets, but it doesn't say the last of the prophets, because you have the word last like will be in there several times in the Quran, like where it would say like the last, the first and the last, the Alpha and Omega. That's in there, and it never says that. It doesn't say the last, so that could be interpreted, as
right.
a feel like an authenticator. But either way, as the brother Kerry Bay pointed out, you have several instances in the Quran, like those verses I was sharing with you, where it's saying we send a prophet to each nation. And if that's in there several times, I think I mentioned 4 verses, but there's several times that's in there. So those aren't the only 4 times it's in there. So So if that's in there several times, and then you have this one measure where it's saying the Khatam al-Nabiyim, saying like the seal of all prophets, then we have to look at that and say, well, Allah sends a prophet to each nation, you know, because this is what's repeated in there several times. And obviously we needed to be delivered from the situation we're in. No one else addressed this. The only person who addressed this issue of how we have been boxed into this label that has us, you know, locked in as slaves, the only one to address this was the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. If other people knew that we were Moors, if other Muslims from, you know, from the East or whatever knew that we were Moors, they did not come, set up a society for us, start teaching this to us, make it so that we had a spiritual system that connected us back to Islam. Nobody did it, only the Prophet. So yeah, nobody could tell us anything. And as you know, it's been shared over and over again, you can't limit something that is limitless, that is universal, right? Yeah. Allah is the best knower. So, you know, people are working from their limited human perspective and trying to put that on us, but they can't. And at the end of the day, we're the head of this. We're returning, you know, as the head. So we're not to be following behind anyone, all right? We're the head.
And I just want to add too to build with y'all. We're definitely in the larger Islamic community, even though if our pale counterparts don't want to acknowledge. When we say our divine principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, love is the belief of Allah and oneness with us, with ourselves and Allah. That's the sentiment, right? So that's, you know, number two, truth. We believe in all angels because the angels bring the message. The angels are messengers that bring the truth. So that's truth. Then you got peace. We accept all prophets. Muhammad, Jesus, Drew Ali. You feel me? Because the prophets bring the peace, freedom. We accept all religious texts, you know, and then justice, the last day. So we do that in Northgate over here in America and stuff. So like, you know, when we say we love truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and of course we got a chapter on charity. That right here, that we fulfill all the requirements with it that entails to be Muslim, and the faithful, because that's what faith has. So like whenever you come to them, you know, or they come at you, you're like, now you understand that our five divine principles align us with the larger Islamic community. You feel me? So we shouldn't be molested or even bothered with. You feel me? But we just gotta know that information too. So that's what Islam. That's what I just want to add.
Okay.
Right, Islam. Thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any other questions, feel free to speak up. If anybody else has any questions too, feel free to speak up.
Islam, are you going?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. It's breaking up.
Islam, I said, was you going to go over the census? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Actually, I can go over the census real quickly. Okay. I'm about to pull it up on the screen. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this. All right. So yeah, we do have an initiative, a national strategy for all Moorish Americans, and basically just letting everybody know you can use the census to I guess you could say to put the government on notice of your race correction or nationality correction. Okay. If I'll hit on this really quickly, just in case, you know, we're not all in understanding of why this is important. For several years, okay, laws, acts, codes were being passed to define the Negro. Basically, it's something that is cut off from the human family. Some people would say that these things are old and outdated, like this one that's on the screens from 1740. There were several black codes, okay, throughout the 1800s. The Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow was a slang term for the so-called Negro. These things are real, and they were used to define us as, you know, less than human, okay? And this stuff is still in effect today. We see this thing called Federal Directive 15, which defines all the races, and every race is connected to the original people from whatever part of the world, except for black. Black or African American just comes from a black racial group. So everything else is an original people. And so this is how come, like you have some Moors out here who will tell people, put white. White means purity. White means ruler of the land. We're not playing the color game. We're not going by anyone else's labels. We're defining ourselves. And so this is why we advise all Moors to check the box. It says some other race, and then write in Asiatic Moorish. Everything that we're advising, the government has this within their hierarchical race codes. It ties you back in to the ancient Moors, the ancient Moabites that ruled all this land. So we tell everyone to type some, to check some other race, and then write in Asiatic Moorish. And then you can also check the box that says American Indian and write in more. When you do that and write in more, when you look in the codes that they have, whether it's within the CDC or Federal Directive 15, they have all the tribes, all these different North American tribes, even Caribbean tribes. They're all connected to this word, more, M-O-O-R. Okay, so I believe a brother in here, I believe is Haitian, wives of Haitian descent. I mean, like, it's all in there. It's a great unifier for all of us. Okay, so just those two things. American Indian, write in more. Also write Asiatic Moorish, where it says some other race. I've already done it, did it for my family, and we're advising everybody to do that. Do it in unison. We'll also work together, you know, using our society, our body politic, to interact and interface on behalf of all these Moors, right? We don't need like Jesse Jackson or someone else to speak for us. We speak for ourselves. We can advocate for if there are any funds or anything that's going to be allocated for this society, because it's going to be an underserved community, right? We will work for that. Okay, but that's just one thing. We advise everybody to check that box, says some other race, write in Asiatic Moorish. And then you can also check the box that says Native American, write in more. Okay? And yeah, if anyone has questions about that, feel free to speak up. Anything else? Any other questions? Feel free to ask. All right. So Brother Jackson Bay, will you please read the additional laws?
Praise Allah. Additional laws. Y'all can hear me? Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet, Noble to Ali. Act 1, Grand Chiefs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet, Noble to Ali. Before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Chief. Act 2. All members are to attend their added meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish uplifting fund, because it takes finances to uplift the nation. Act member if he is able to finance to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people and justice and catching. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. As I have the power invested in my hands and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making public speeches, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak badly against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to speak love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act children Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. And their free national names be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faith. You must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Islam, 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 and
Right, Islamism. Thank you, brother. Brother Kobe, will you please read the writs of the prophet?
Islam. I rise to get a highest praise to the most. I give honors to the prophet, Noble Ali. I give honors to all Moors in this meeting. I also give honors to all Muslims around the world. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their best, they do their part in protecting their movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali, And that is why many hearts have turned into stone, many have eyes to least they will be confined to their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him in national principles and your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good works. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam, I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend on, working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifted funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance. I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It all has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islamism. Thank you, brother. Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and close out. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you are able to, please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creative principles. We ask this in thy holy name in the 7 Elohim. Islam. All right, amen. Okay, peace and love. Unless y'all have some questions, we're gonna go ahead and close out. I know those of us who are doing Ramadan, it's almost time to break fast.
Islam, peace and love. I love you more.
All right, love you more too.
Peace and love. Love you, Morris. Keep it going. Islam.
All right, to the brother that has your hand raised, yeah, go ahead.
No, that was a mistake. Peace and love.
All right, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, Morris.
Peace.